Oh, you again? You do a few videos and get a few hundred likes, and all of a sudden, everybody wants to see your face. You know, I do have other things I could be doing, like eating cheesecake and drinking wine and. One moment. Looks like my neighbor's having construction done. There's quite a few hunky guys over there. One more look. So, where was I? Oh, yeah, having to do videos for you guys. You know, the other frustrating thing about being on YouTube is that you guys keep showing me decks that I cannot get. I mean, how did I miss that Kickstarter, right? I mean, it ended yesterday. And today I see everybody's beautiful, beautiful decks, right? All right, I guess we should get on with this thing. Our first prompt is Pride, a deck you purchase or use for flexing. And I chose the Bonestone and Earth Flash, so this is a deck that I like to pull out to make people envious. It was a limited run, and it doesn't look like they're going to reprint it. They did release a sketchbook version of it on the make playing cards, which is really, really expensive. But it is simply a gorgeous deck. I love the backs. That infinity symbol with the leaves and the ribbon is just gorgeous against that bone background. Really couldn't tell online that that was bone until you actually got it and you started seeing the cracks in it. But just gorgeous. I love that she chose red gilding. A lot of people have had problems with that gilding, but all I did was, as it chipped, is I'm covering it up with black ink to give it a little bit of an aged look and fill in the gaps, because the white is really bad, but when you have another color like, say, black over it, it just looks red. So love it. The images, of course, by Anatorian are simply beautiful, and I think the imagery that she chose, which kind of connects with the earth and more pagan practices, really fits with the Golden Dawn interpretations of the card. Oh, that one was upside down. I don't read reversal, so that had to be an accident. This is one of my favorites. I actually have a mask that I had purchased at before the pandemic even, to wear. Yes, so I do love this deck. Our Queen of Swords, that Thoth energy, so to say, there. Love this Empress. And you're seeing a lot of these cards as I do my 78 weeks project. So that is my Pride deck. Greed. Okay, so something you don't share with others. That's going to be my first edition of the Spirit Keepers Tarot. This could probably be an Envy deck as well. There are now 3 printings of the 3 editions of this, and the latest edition will be reprinted at some point, but probably not for a few years, because she did do it as a print run rather than an edition. I loved this deck. I spent a lot of time in ritual connecting with this deck, and so I only read it for myself. Occasionally I will show the cards online, but I don't actually read for other people. This is a blend of the Smith Waite, the Thoth, as well as other concepts and ideas that Benabel has studied from various practices and religions around the world, trying to create that Prisma Theologica that we talk about sometimes in tarot. Some of these changed, and if you want to see that, you can check out my video from last week, Sibling Rivalry, to see how this deck compares to her other decks. The other thing that kind of related this to me a little bit was that it is an angel deck, so to speak. The court cards are angels. In this case, here's our stronghold, which is our page. And they're just different hierarchies of angels. So rather than having, king, queen, knight, and page. You have your different levels of angels, the one that shields, the one that supports your action, the one that teaches you basically, and then the one that brings you messages. Wrath, so a deck that you're angry at. There is the deck I'm angry at. I am so angry at this deck. I kept seeing it online. The images were just so beautiful. I really, really wanted to love this deck. And it would be great if it were not for this rose petal. I love that key. Isn't that cool? The rose petal finish makes it very hard to separate these cards for me. I am tempted, because I do love the artwork in here, to take it with me to StarCon and just work with nothing but it and see if I can't get it to stop sticking. You see that? Sometimes I can't find cards in it. I actually just decide it's not worth the effort to try and search for a card when I'm doing my 78 weeks project, because they stick together so badly, but they're just gorgeous, gorgeous cards. It sticks pretty much to the Smith-Waite imagery, but only the other day, I wouldn't even be able to pull these apart to look at them. I really wanted to work with this deck, and the cardstock has just made it a chore. But beautiful, beautiful deck, and I'm going to keep it for sure. But whether or not I actually get to work with it, I don't know. It's just driving me nuts that it sticks together so badly. Envy, a deck you wanted because other people had it. And there's probably a ton of decks that could be, because I watch your videos all the time, right? But I chose this one. I actually saw this one on Kelly Bear's channel, and I, at the time, didn't even read Marseille decks, but I had been looking for a little bit of a darker deck to go in my collection, and decided that I really liked this. The guidebook is all in French, but thanks to Google Translate, I can actually get pretty good, and there's not actually that much content. It's only like 60 pages, and some of those are actually pictures. But it's actually some good information about historical tarots. But the cards are really huge. Kelly Bear trimmed hers. I would never trim it because it's gilded. That was one of the other things I really liked about it. And it was a Marseille deck that I actually liked the coloring of, and the artwork of the pips. There's a lot of decks out there where I'm not crazy about them. I also like this a little bit darker deck, even though it remains somewhat true to traditional Marseille. It does create this own little world of its own. It's not quite a horse. It's some other kind of animal. But I loved the colors in it. And so I have read with it. In fact, I did readings for a whole week for my followers on my channel with it. Something about this art style really appeals to me. Yes, so that is Le Tarot Noir. And this is actually in its second printing now. This is the first edition. I don't know what the significant differences, if any, are in the new printing. But it was my most expensive deck that I had purchased at that time. Lust, a deck you like for aesthetic reasons. So, another Marseille deck, as it happens. And this was a deck that I grabbed as soon as I started studying Marseille 2 years ago, because it is so pretty. The backs are gorgeous, but not distracting. There's no specific imagery. It's all geometry. But look at these beautiful fronts. This deck keeps the colors of the Marseille, but kind of uses shades of them to give you more of a three-dimensional feel. and also places these characters in a very 80s club kind of culture. So it's LGBT friendly and kink friendly, and I just love the colors. I love the artwork, and you can see that they're trying to hold to the Marseille, and the cards are just beautiful. The pips with the flowers on them, and all of the flowers have a significance that I don't know because I haven't studied them that in depth. I got them because they're pretty. I love how they did that Two of Pentacles. Just a gorgeous deck. I do want to show you why it's a lust deck, and so I'm going to have to find some of the majors for that. Here's the Papas with his students or submissives. Here is our Chariot being pulled by two horses who are actually people. One of our Devils. This is a deck that does have genitals, so if you don't want to see genitals, turn while I'm showing it. But yeah, just lusty. The men and women are just gorgeous in this deck. And so not a lot of body type diversity, but that was an intention of this deck, and I'm fine with that because that's why I bought this deck. It's gorgeous, and I love these depictions and colors of these cards. So Lust deck right there, the New Choice Tarot de Marseille. And that is also in its second printing now. This is the first edition, so you should still be able to get this, the last that I checked. In fact, the second edition has a different color gilding. It's a more coppery color, and it has a better box. The box actually stays shut on the second edition. So, Gluttony. So a deck you really didn't need, but you bought anyway. And that is the deck that's in this bag. In fact, this bag came with the deck. So I was at a convention online. I think it was the World Divination Association's convention last year. And the creator of this deck was there, and they were like, oh, 30% off my deck. And I'm like, 30% off a deck? I need to at least check out the deck. And this is the Javel Moore Tarot, and there were only like 10 copies left at that time. You probably can't get this anymore. But I looked at it, and I really did like some of the artwork in it. I can't say that it's one of my favorite decks or I work with it a lot, but I just purchased it because it was affordable, and some of the cards really did speak to me. It doesn't have titles on it, so sometimes I have to like think for a minute about which card I'm actually looking at. Like with this one here, I really thought this was the Nine of Pentacles, but it looks like it's actually the Seven. Where's our Ace of Wands? So it's a very traditional type of deck, but it does take some liberties. Like, see the Six of Pentacles? This is similar to what Benabel did in her deck, where the hand is giving and receiving. You can't actually see who it is. In this case, perhaps gifts of the divine, more of a karmic kind of energy going on. But there were some really gorgeous cards in here. Look at that world. The world is in our hands. I love that. Look at that. Oh, yeah, that's gorgeous. One of the more beautiful Three of Hearts. That is a real heart, not a clip art style. So yeah, it's a fun fantasy little world, and the artwork was cool. Love my Temperance card there. And like I said, I got it for like cheap because it was on sale. So yeah, love this deck. And that will be my Gluttony deck. Sloth. So when I'm lazy, and I know a lot of people have said the same thing, and that's when I'm lazy, I go back to the Smith Waite. I'll grab one of my decks. I mainly use the Centennial, but this deck is one that I do love. It is Pam's Vintage Tarot. I actually prefer this Rose and Lily's back on the cards. And so I've been looking for the perfect deck with this back. This deck would have come close if they hadn't have put these little filigrees on here to add artwork to it. I like that they aged the deck, but that little filigree just kind of ruined the whole thing. But they're still gorgeous, and I do love working with this, and if not for that little bit of decoration that they added in the corners, this would probably be my working RWS deck. I'm just so familiar with these images, having started by studying them and the meanings behind them and the imagery in them, that it's an old friend. I just have to remind myself that these people could be anyone in a reading, right? And in fact, we were talking about this in another video I did with Benabel Wynn on gender and esoteric tarot, which you can pop over and watch after this video. I'll put the link up above. That some of these could basically be any gender. We assume they're men or women based on their apparel, but their body types really don't speak to, like, for example, this card. I always assumed this was a woman, but others automatically assume it's a man. And it could be either, really. Pixies people are quite androgynous at times. So check out that video if you have not already, although a lot of you have. So, those are the 7 deadly sins. Hi everyone, this is Rosemary, and you've been watching Good Journeys Tarot. So, for those of you who have not been watching my channel, please note that that first part of the video was satire. While I have probably committed all 7 deadly sins at some point in my life, none of those things were actually happening at that time. And I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I've been enjoying everyone's VRs to it, especially last night where several people got together on Tarot Stash's channel and did it all together. Always a blast over on his channel, so check that out if you missed it last night. Until next time, everybody, good journeys.